Okay, so this is the hummingbird that we'll be drawing today. Just a recap on materials that you'll need. You'll need paper. Make sure it's smooth paper so that you don't get a lot of texture in your drawing. And then you'll need a pencil and an eraser, and then your colored pencils. As far as colors go, I used a lot of blues and greens, some pinks, oranges, and yellows, and then brown for the feet and black for the eye. Okay, so I'm going to do my drawing fairly dark just so that you can see it, but when you do your drawing, keep it fairly light because right now we're just blocking in the basic shapes of the bird, and then we'll go back in and we'll refine our lines and make everything look smoother and more like the actual hummingbird. So keep your lines light so that you can erase them. Okay, so we're going to start off with the shape of the head. We're going to do an oval. And then we're going to do the beak. So it's going to be a really skinny triangle. And you want to keep it really thin and long. So the top of the beak of the bill will extend just above halfway up the side of the face. And again, it's going to be long and skinny. And it's going to be shaped like a triangle. So this bottom line, it connects to the head about halfway, maybe just a little under halfway from the middle. And then we're going to draw our body. So our body is going to take the same shape as the head. It'll just be a little bit bigger. So this first line, it's going to extend out from the middle of the head. And then it's going to extend out from about right here, which again, it's not quite the middle. It's a little under halfway from the middle. So just going to do another oval. Just fixing a few of my lines. Okay, and now we're going to do the wings. So the wings, again, they'll be triangles. And this first wing, it's going to be the front wing. It's going to extend out from about the center of the head right here. And then it'll come down to the body about right here. So maybe like 3/4 of the way down. And this is just going to be another long straight line extending out. And then this line will meet up with it. Make my lines a little bit darker just so you can see them. But remember to keep yours light because we will be erasing most of these lines. Okay, so now we're doing our back wing. Going to extend it out from just above this line that we did. So right here. And again, it's just going to be straight. Not quite as long because it's the back wing. So for perspective reasons, it's going to be shorter. And then we're just going to drop this line down right here. Okay, so now we're going to do the tail. I'm gonna extend this line. So here's the center. We're gonna go just to the left of it and extend it out, straight line, not super long. And then just behind this center line, we're gonna extend another one. So these are both diagonal lines. And this one is going to be a little bit longer than that first one we did. And then I'm gonna take this point and bring a line in to the center, and then extend it down to meet up with this point down here. So hopefully you're starting to see how these basic shapes make up the shape of the bird. And then for the feet, we're gonna just do these 2 little circles right along the edge. Do one that's coming in behind it. And then we can't forget about our eye, so let's put the eye in. That was bad placement. Okay, so it's not quite in the middle, it's just above the middle. And then same thing vertically, it's not quite in the middle vertically, it's over to the left a little bit. So let's put that eye in right there. And then now we're gonna go in and we're gonna refine all these lines and make the bird look like an actual bird. So let's take this bottom of this beak and connect it to the head, so that it's not such a harsh line. It's more, it's connected by a curve rather than a sharp angle. It's got a curve. And then we'll take that line down the head, and then we're going to take it to meet up with the body. So again, we're giving it a nice curve. So we're getting rid of this sharp angle and we're giving it a nice curve. And then same thing with the top of this beak. We want to just give this a nice smooth curve, not make it so sharp. And I'm actually going to make the top of this head just a little bit taller, a little more round up there. So there's my original line, and I just made it just a little bit taller. So see that shape of that head is coming in nicely right there. Okay, and then we're going to take this line from the head and we're going to extend it down into the wings. And again, we're creating a nice curve, so this way your curve is going. Hopefully you can see that. And then, so this kind of, it dips down just a teeny bit. And then it comes back up just a little bit. So you've got this movement in the wing. So it comes up and then it dips back down, and we're getting rid of this sharp angle. So it dips down below that, and then this is your feather. So let's get rid of all these other lines that we no longer need. Okay, and then, so right here where the head connects to the wing, we're going to create another little loop or a little curve. And let me define that a little bit more so you can see it better. And I'm going to get rid of this line from the head because we don't need it anymore. So you can see I've got this little curve, and then we're going to do one more of those right about there. So again, we are cutting off the corner of this original triangle, and so I'm taking this curve extending that line out, and then rounding this off, so again it's not that harsh line, and I'm taking it to meet up with that outside line out there. So let's erase these harsh lines. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing with this back wing. So we're going to take this point, and again we're going to give it a little bit of curvature. We're going to round that off right there, and then bring it back in so it's more of a wing shape and not so triangular looking. So get rid of those harsh lines. Okay, so now for the tail, we're going to take, here, let me define this a little bit. Okay, so we're going to take this line right here from the body, and we're going to extend it all the way down to this point. So take it down there, and then I'm actually going to bring that point in just a little bit so that that tail has a little more curve. And get rid of this line. And then you're doing basically the same thing over here. You're taking this line from the body and you're giving it this curve. And you're meeting up with this point down there. And then you can erase this part of the body. And I'm actually going to make this bird a little bit more plump. He's a little too skinny for me. So I'm extending this line out just a little bit. So it'll meet just a tiny bit further out on the wing. And then I'm gonna make his belly just a little bit bigger too. So I'm taking this line right here and I'm just extending it out just a little bit. So now he's really starting to look like a hummingbird, right? Got just a few more steps and then we'll get into color. So we're gonna add in just a little bit of detail, but again, keep your lines light because we are still going in with colored pencil. So come in right here and you're gonna make another triangle shape, but you're keeping your lines curvy. You're not making this a straight line. You're keeping it curved. And then this point is going to be just above this point. So those 2 points are right next to each other. And then you're going to bring this out this way. And again, it's not a straight, harsh line. It's got a lot of curve in it. So that you're keeping that nice shape of the body. Okay, so now let's focus on getting our feather shape. So we're gonna be making these little loops. I don't really know what else to call them. They look like this, little loops. So we're just doing that all along here, along the bottom. And I'm just getting rid of that line. So we've got our loops down there for the feathers, and then we're gonna do the same thing over here. So we've got a loop, and a loop, and a loop. And again, I'm just getting rid of that line, defining those loops a little bit more. And then, so same thing over here. I'm doing a loop, and a loop, and a loop, all the way down until you meet up with the body. Okay, and then we're gonna do that same thing on this wing. So remember this first little curve that we made? So this point from the curve, we're gonna take that and we're going to just do a few more little loops. So I guess these ones look more like this. That's easier for you to see. And then this last one, I'm going to make it long and I'm just going to extend it all the way out. Okay. So now you've got pretty much all the shape and the detail that you need for your bird, and now you can start adding color. So my dominant color is blue, and then probably green as well. Those are the two that we're going to use the most. So I'm using this blue. It probably looks black in your screen, but it's indigo blue. It's going to be my darkest blue that I'm using. And I'm going to start out by using it on the beak. So I'm just dragging it along the beak. I'm keeping my pressure fairly hard. I want the beak to be pretty dark. And if you don't have a good blue, or you don't like to use blue for your beak, you can do it brown. It's not a big deal. Okay, so you're bringing this blue up onto the head, and then you're just following the shape of the head. Sorry if you can't see. And you're going to bring that blue all the way out onto this wing. The outside front wing. You're bringing it all the way out there. And then you're going to use it along the bottom of your beak as well. So right now we're kind of just outlining. So just follow along that pencil line that you made. Don't keep your pressure fairly light, because you're going to be adding in other colors, and you don't want the blue to become so dominant that you can't see other colors in there when you add them in. So this blue is going to be along the outside of the body as well, extended all the way down into the tail. And I'm going to use it to define my loops, or my feathers down here. Okay, and then this back wing, we are actually going to color that whole back wing blue, but we're going to keep our pressure really light. We don't want it to be too dark because it's in the background. We don't want it to draw in a lot of attention. We want it to be light, and yeah, we just don't want to give it too much detail because it's in the background. You're not going to be able to see it as well anyways. So I'm giving it a blue all over, but I'm doing it very lightly. I will define this outside line just a little bit, but again, I don't want any harsh lines. So although I'm defining that outside line, I'm still going to blend that line into the wing, so it's not a harsh line. Just blend it in just a little bit. And then same thing for these loops. I'm going to define them a little bit, but again, I don't want a ton of detail, and I don't want it to be too dark. We're also going to add some shadow right here because it's behind, so there'd obviously be shadow there. Just makes sense. You're just adding that in, and again, you're blending it in. It's not a harsh shadow. So there's that. And now we're going to extend this blue into this outside wing. Keep your pressure pretty light because we're going to be adding in other colors. And again, you want those to be able to show through when you add other colors. I'm going to use it right here. So we're blending this line between the head and the outside wing right here. Got your blue coming in along the side of the body. And then you're going to use it to define your loops. Okay, now we're going to use some green. This is the darkest green that I'll be using. It's called grass green. It's not super dark. It's a nice in-between color. I think it is pretty true to its name, grass green. So I'm using this green all along the top of the head. And actually, before we do that, let's color in the eye. Let's color in black. So you're just coloring in that circle that you made, making it black. And then you're going to keep a ring around the eye white. So I'm just going to create a ring right now so that I don't forget that I'm supposed to keep that white. So there's my ring around the eye. So this green, it's not going to extend all the way down into the beak, but it'll extend down the head right here. And it'll come down about halfway down the head. And it's actually, so I'm blending it, this blue right here, I'm blending it into that blue. So again, it's not just a harsh line of blue and then a harsh line of green. It's going to be very soft transition into that blue. But I'm bringing it all the way down into the body. And then I'm also going to add it into the wings, or into the tail and the wings eventually. So I'm keeping my pressure really light. Just add in a little bit of green. Okay, so now we're going to add it into the wings. We're going to come in here, and again, we are transitioning it into that blue so that it's a nice, subtle transition. And I'm still keeping my pressure really light. I'm going to go back in with that dark blue that I was using. I'm going to just darken up this wing right here. Just a little bit in that corner, and then I'm going to extend it out just a little bit. And then remember these loops that we made going through the middle of the wing? I'm going to use this blue to define those again. Okay, now I'm using a little bit of a lighter blue, and I'm going to use it, I'm going to extend it out into the beak. And then it's going to meet up with this green on the head. And it's going to extend below the eye. And again, I'm blending it in with that green. Where it meets up with the green, I'm blending it in. And I'm not going to bring it all the way over. I'm going to leave that little bit of a gap. But I am going to come in on the underbelly belly of the beak and give it just a little more blue, just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to take this magenta color, or if you just have like a pinkish reddish color, that'll work. So it's a little bit deeper of a pink. And I'm going to use it right under this blue, and I'm going to blend it into the blue just a little bit so that it creates purple, a little bit of purple in there. And then it's going to extend all the way over. Now I'm using an orange, and I'm going to put this orange right under the pink. And again, we're blending it into the orange, making that a nice, subtle transition into pink. And then my next color I'm using, it's right in between an orange and a yellow. It's like a dandelion color. And again, we're just going to use that right under that orange that we put in there, and it's just going to brighten it up a little bit. Okay, now we're going to go back to our greens. So this was the first green that I used, and now I'm using this green, and then I'll also be using this green. So those are my 3 greens. This one's a nice even tone. Again, I'm spreading it into that other green that was already there just to blend it. And I'm extending it out into the body. And then this last green that I'm going to use, it's kind of a yellow green. If you don't have that, just use a little bit lighter of a green, or even a yellow will be good. And I'm just throwing that in right under the green that I put down. And it's just helping to brighten it up a little bit. Okay, now I'm taking this cream color. It's like a really light yellow, pretty creamy. And I'm making these little marks to represent the feathers coming in. So I'll show you what those marks look like with a pencil. So they're just little marks, kind of like this. And I'm just going in, and I'm using that yellow right in there, and I'm making those marks. Okay, let's pick our orange back up, and let's go into the wings. We're going to use this orange on the tip of this wing. And again, we're keeping it really light, and we're just giving it a little bit of color. And then let's take that pink that we were using and do that same thing, but this time we're going to extend it into the back of the wing. And again, just very light. Just making little strokes with that, with the colors. And we're actually going to add a little bit of pink to this back wing, so just very subtle, just to give it a little more interest, but still keeping it very simple so that it doesn't draw too much attention. And then that lightest yellow that I use, I'm just using that in this very tip of the wing. And okay, now I'm going to use that darkest green that I was using, and I'm going to put it in the tips of all these feathers, and then I'm going to fade it out so that it's pretty dark, fairly dark, and then not so dark. So it's just fading out. And I'm just doing that on all of them. And then when I'm done with that, I'll go back in with my dark blue, that indigo that I've been using. and darken it up even more and define those lines just a little bit better, because those lines get a little bit lost. So we're going to define that a little bit more. So we're using this blue, defining those lines, deepening the tip of the feather even more. And then we're also going to use this blue to add some shadow. So we have this line, right? And it's kind of harsh. So we're going to just take this line and we're going to blend it out a little bit. So again, not very much pressure, just very light. Just blending it out just a little bit. And then we're going to extend that blue down here into this point of the body. And again, just give it a little bit of shadow down there. We can even pull some more blue right in there. So again, I'm just defining some of these marks that got lost a little bit from all the color. I'm going to define these loops. And I'm going to deepen this up just a titch. Deepen it on the head just a little bit. And if you want, you can even go in and add some turquoise. Might be hard to tell in your screen, but it's just a pretty color and fun to throw it in there just a little bit. Okay, so we're pretty much done. Oh, we've got our feet. We got to do our feet really quick. So I'm just doing like little half circles. They look like little claws almost. And then I'll just take the blue and color in behind it. So like I said, I'm gonna go back in and make just a few more details. But if you're happy with it right here, you can stop. Or if you want to give it a little more details, then you can keep following along. So remember those little marks that we made with that really light yellow? So these marks right here. So we're going to do more of those marks with this deep blue. We're going to do it along this outside of the body. And again, they're just supposed to represent feathers. So if you want to add them, feel free to, but if you don't want to, then you totally don't have to. I'm going to put them in the head just a little bit. And even into this color just a little bit. And then you are pretty much done. If you want to add in more color other places, you totally can. This bird has a lot of color in it, so there's definitely nothing wrong with adding more. Just be careful. If you add too many colors, it might get a little muddy, so just be aware of that. But that is tonight's lesson, a little hummingbird. I hope yours turned out well. Thanks for joining.